Alright, here is our first attempt at putting AC in this excavator, and I'll show you what we have right here. This is the condenser unit for a I think it's under dash AC unit. So this thing is sold as a kit that goes for like your classic vehicle. This goes in front of your radiator. Comes with an electric fan, so the electric fan shroud bolts right over that. And then you have a 12-volt compressor right there, which compresses the coolant and sends it to the evaporator. The evaporator would sit nicely. I'll actually go in the cab here. That way I don't have the glare of the window. The evaporator would sit nicely right there. And so this is just kind of sitting in there. I just kind of mocked it up to see how it looked. And the goal was not to have those mini splits where the external unit is hanging off the side of the machine, but to have it all hidden nicely in here and in a nice package. But a couple issues I ran into. One, putting a fitting on here, it would stick out too far. Two, airflow. This machine is designed for this radiator for both the oil cooler on this side and the coolant side right here to have all this airflow unobstructed. Now if I put this condenser in there, that's restriction on that airflow. Even if I put a small like 7-inch fan in here to help move air through there, you're still restricting airflow, and you're still taking all the heat out of that cab and releasing it inside the space that's getting sucked into the factory radiator there and making it harder for the machine to cool itself. Obviously that's only going to be a real issue on super hot days, but after tinkering with this enough, I think that I'm going to scrap this idea. It's just tempting enough to I can make this work, and I could probably fit it in there, but there's just not enough room to do it comfortably to know that, hey, this is going to last. This would be, it just would not work like the way I want it to. I just see too many options for things to go wrong. Another issue is this is the compressor here, and even if I unbolt it from this bracket here, trying to find a spot for this thing is going to be really challenging. There's not a whole lot of space in here. I can put my fist in there, but that's about it. I mean, you know, they have engineered this machine into such a nice compact package, and it's a very well engineered machine, but with that they don't leave a lot of space or open spots for accessories like this. So we're going to put everything back the way it was, and we're probably going to do what I saw on one of the forums on this thing, where I'm going to build a bracket, probably get clamped in between these two bolts. It'll pop up, come out, and I'll have the outside unit here and then the inside unit sitting probably right where that one is there, behind the seat. I don't like it directly behind my head. That way my head doesn't have to strike it if I'm bucking the machine around on. But you know, we'll see how big the unit is. But yeah, I just figured I'd show you the first failed attempt here. I took measurements and I thought that would work, because this is just about 20 inches across here. And yeah, from side to side here it would not work, but from angle to angle there it would sit within this curvature of the body panel. So yeah, that's I've spent more time than I'd like to admit staring at this, trying to figure out how to make this work. And I've even gone as far as figuring out how to make a bracket to where this would sit at about a 45-degree angle like that on a bracket. That would sit underneath of it and put it up on the roof. And I scrapped that idea too, because that would be a ton of fabrication, and you know, trying to put guards in place and screens and stuff. At that point, it's just cheaper and better off to buy a mini split that is just a compact pre-assembled unit, and then I can just put it on the back of the machine and call it good. Alright, here is our AC condenser module. This is the part that sits on the back side of the machine on the outside, and you can see inside there you have the pump, the fan, the condenser is right behind the fan there, and then this is I believe a control board. So what we have to do now is to run the lines. I have to drill in 2 holes here, one for the smaller line here, and then one for this bigger line. We're gonna get those drilled in, and that will take those lines will then go to the evaporator. So the evaporator's sitting in there, and we'll go take a look at that. So here's the evaporator. And my initial thought here is just to mount this right behind the seat. And it's not going to be getting in the way of the seat, so I just have to figure out how to attach it in here, basically the least destructive way possible. So here's a support piece that we're going to be installing for the back here that's going to hold the evaporator. So there's two bolts here that hold the cab, the back end of the cab on. And what I've done is I've drilled two holes in them, one on each side here. And what this is going to be is it's going to be the support. So this thing just pulls out, and so I can go weld tabs on. So there's going to be a tab that sticks straight up here, and that is going to attach to the evaporator to the mounting holes that it has in it, and that's going to be how we're going to mount the evaporator and secure it into the machine. Alright, we got our frame painted up here. So this is the part that's going to support the outside condenser. So there's two tapped holes here. They do have bolts coming in from the bottom, but they're only using a little bit of thread. So there's still quite a bit of thread here that we're still able to use from the top side. There's a pre-existing hole here. It's metric. And then this one is a 1/4 that I drilled in and tapped. So this gives us 4 mounting holes here. This is how I built the frame. So this L bracket here that I've welded together, this is so it can sit back here, pop up through this gap right here, and then come out and then provide support for the frame, because otherwise you'd have the door impeding on it here. So we'll bolt this in here and see what it looks like. That'll be our condenser unit. Now, a couple things about this. I absolutely hate this look. Like, I'm probably the biggest advocate of trying to put it inside the engine compartment. I measured everything, and there's just no way that this is physically going to fit in here without having to do major modifications like cutting out the body panels, or you know, put it in there so cramped and tight that you're going to rub a hole into the aluminum here just by the vibration with the steel rubbing against it. It's just not possible. So I hate this look. Like, do not get me wrong, this is the last thing that I want to do, but this is the least in the way spot that I could find. Thought about putting on the roof. Well, then you have height restrictions that way. You're going under trees and stuff, you're going to knock it off. Have it here on the back. You know, I'm still within I can still, if I draw an imaginary line from the track, as long as I'm, don't have the track up against the side of a building or something, I'm not going to sweep this thing off. Sideways, maybe. It would hang out there. You are removing the zero tail swing component of this machine. You're making it now a minimal tail swing because this is hanging out the back. But it's the best option for this machine. So let's kind of take it off the side here and show you what I mean. So it doesn't hang out obnoxiously far, but it hangs out enough that it looks, I don't like it. I'm not going to lie to you, I don't like it at all. But it is going to serve the purpose that it needs to serve, which is providing air conditioning. And here's the one caveat I will tell you about this. That is a pro about having it mounted on the outside like this instead of integrating it in with the OEM cooling pack. This thing's putting out BTUs. It's putting out hot air that's pulling it out of the cab, and it's dispersing out in the atmosphere. If you take this condenser and you put this in front of the radiator for the motor, you are now increasing the ambient temperature that radiator is seeing, and you are increasing the cooling capacity or the amount of effort that radiator has to work to cool itself off. This machine is designed to not have one of these condensers in front of it. If it was, I'm sure they would have given us a bigger radiator to make up for the fact that it's now seeing hotter air. So that is the pro about having it out here, is now it's just going to disperse the heat from the cab out into the atmosphere and allow this just to get fresh air. Is it a huge temperature difference that this thing's going to be putting out? No, this is only 8,000 BTU condenser, but you're still adding heat to a already hot environment. And if you're running this thing on a 90-degree day or 100-degree day, that's not that much. It's not pushing it that much to overheat the machine. Just adding that little amount of heat from this condenser. So it is nice having it out here so it can dissipate it out into the atmosphere. As far as attachment, we're probably going to go with some bolts, some zip ties. As far as the wires here, you have two wires that come out of your condenser pack. The main battery wires here, and the built-in fuse, and this is the one that goes to the evaporator in the cab. So there's it's a 4-prong plug, and so this will go in the cab, this will get traced down in here to the battery compartment and wired into the battery. So we'll start the process of getting the tubes ran. Like we've all been there before, I'm currently waiting on Amazon to deliver the grommets to put in these holes here so I can run the condenser tube and this electrical wire into the cab. We'll run it through a grommet so it's a clean look and I don't have to worry about cutting the tube on here. So in the interim, we're going to work on getting this thing mounted in here, the wires kind of wrapped up and tidied up, and securing this thing on here. Okay, so this is halfway through the project. So you can see how this thing's secured. It does wiggle, but that's just the flux in the material here, the plastic and the frame. But I don't think it's going to be an issue. So this wire right here, this is my control wire. So this is going to get snaked in through the grommet that's coming. So I would take the power cable down, run it down in here, and then wire it into directly into the battery and the power box here. So obviously nothing comes on until the main control unit is plugged in and telling this part to turn on here. And you don't want to turn these on until you have the lines hooked up and oil in these, because they require oil to be circulated throughout the evaporator and condenser to lubricate the inside of the pump. So again, so it looks like on the back side. It's not pretty, I don't like it, but you know, it's, I think, for the best option I can find for this. As far as the inside here goes, what we have is we have the evaporator sitting right here behind the seat. The seat doesn't go back any further, and it rides on the suspension here, so I don't have to worry about it bashing into here. And I'm just going to have these vents cracked open, so they'll be blowing cold air up your back. So it'll be nice and cool. Best location for vents? Absolutely not. But for the position that we have this thing in, and just the lack of space in here, because this is a subcompact tractor. I mean, this thing is not, space is not a premium here. This is, you know, it's a small machine. So as you can see right there, I left a little bit of space so we're not rubbing on anything. Same thing in the back. And you can see that bolt is not hitting the window. It's close, but it's not hitting. That's what I wanted. I want this thing just, you know, supported up right here, and that's what those L brackets are doing, and pretty happy with that. So I might have to take this back out to install the lines here, so this comes off and then your two lines get plugged into there, and then there's the receiver in for your control module. They do have this little hammer here, which this guy just may get taken out or, you know, put up somewhere else. But for right now, we'll see if that stays or not. So overall, I'm liking how it's coming together. At the end of the day, I need function, not for it to be pretty. I'm not looking for win awards contest here, but I am looking to be comfortable operating this thing. And having it set up like this, I can run it and, you know, be cool in the summer, and it'll should do the job. Okay, so space is a little bit of a premium here, so I apologize. I'm going to show you what I'm doing. So I have this extra hose here. This is getting tucked up in behind the seat here. Smaller hose comes up from behind the, in between the windshield washer reservoir and the condenser unit. And then I've just stuck the loop for both the electrical cord and the condenser hose down there. It comes down, and then the way that this works, so you have this clamp here. You just have this, it just presses in there, and you put your clamp on, and then you put a bolt in the middle, and that holds these two pipes on here. So basically you want to do a dry fit. So put your seat back, you know, make sure you're not pinching anything, make sure everything's right where you want it.
Respond to commercial fire alarm at 18670.
Everything's hooked up, so now we're out here field testing this thing. So I've got it tested out already today, so I know it works, but I'll turn it on for you. So it'll power up, feel the fan start moving. That's fan speed right there. And I'm going to keep on low, and temperature, and it's blowing cold. And I can tell you just in a little bit that this video's been shooting right here. This is already coming out ice cold, so overall very happy with the performance. As far as voltage, it does pull it down, so we're at 12.5 volts right now with an idle. You give a little bit more throttle. Doesn't really do a whole lot. If you have this thing really spinning, it'll do fine, but I have gotten a couple low power alarms or low voltage alarms saying, hey, this thing's not charging properly. Just to let you know that hey, it thinks there's something wrong with the alternator. The computer makes that noise, not this. But yeah, this thing for the win. Really happy with it. It keeps this cab nice and cool. Here's the outside unit. And it moves a decent amount of air. Not too noisy. I'm going to shut it off and let you hear it. So that's the noise inside. There's a fan outside, so not bad. There's a little bit of a wind down period for this guy. Once you hit the power, this takes a couple seconds before it shuts off. overall, I'm very happy with this. This thing keeps that cab nice and cold and nice and comfortable. So anyway, hopefully you guys got some ideas out of this. Hopefully this answers some questions. This is a pretty straightforward install. You can do this all with your own tools, and if you have a little bit of fabrication ability or help, making a mount's not that hard. So, you know, and then all the tools you need for filling this thing with Freon, you can go to your local auto parts store that does a tool loaner program and get everything there. So anyway, thank you guys for checking out the video.